Yeah, that is just a big school. Oh, it's so fun when you can kind of land on them like this. Another one coming up. That did not take long. Immediately hit again. Yep, he bit. There we go. Oh my gosh, it's a stud. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that is huge. What a unit. Look at that thing. Just tall. Well, welcome back. We're taking advantage again. Well, we have some family up helping with our new baby girl, baby Emery. And today we're out chasing some more crappies. And today I'm actually gonna talk through a little bit of the difference between the daytime bite for crappies, kind of the patterns that you're gonna see during that daytime, and then kind of compare that with the nighttime bite. We're gonna kind of divide the daytime bite into two different parts, and that is a weed bite and a basin bite. When you're looking for a weed bite, a lot of times you're looking for those bigger, expansive, shallow flats. Sometimes there'll be weeds on a break line that follow. But what I find for my best daytime bite for crappies in the weeds is these little bit bigger, expansive, shallow flats with some kind of sparse cabbage, coontail. This is a really fun bite that you can use an underwater camera. Sometimes you can even sight fish these fish. Not always gonna be necessarily hot and heavy action because they're gonna be a little more spread out as they move through the weeds, but can be a great daytime bite, especially because you're gonna get some bluegills, some bass, some pike, potentially some walleyes as well. A little bit of everything is up in those kind of sparse weeds this time of year. And a lot of times I'm looking at less than 10 feet if I'm looking for these big, shallow flats. There's a few things you can look for to help kind of maximize your time. One is looking for open pockets in the weeds, especially if you've done some looking with your side imaging or even if your live scope through the ice, being able to find some of those open pockets of weeds. The other thing I like to do is I like to drop my camera down and just see what I'm looking for. If I'm seeing muddy bottom, tall weeds, sparse weeds, whatever I'm looking for. And then another thing that you can do is look for just some minor contour changes. You know, I might have a big 8-foot flat and then it drops down to 10 feet in kind of a little bit of a bowl type area within that. Almost acts like a mini basin, especially if there's not weeds present. Any of these little intricacies within those weeds are going to be something for those fish to key in on. And even with that, you can also try out on that break line. If it's close to that deep water, don't be afraid to check out on that weed edge or even mix into the weeds, but just more on the drop off. So that's one really fun daytime bite, is fishing in the weeds. That's not what we're doing today. Today we're chasing some basin crappies. I just did a deep dive into a lot of my strategies that I use, so I'm not going to go too deep into that today. We're just going to go chase some fish around, try to catch some. We have about an hour here before it gets dark. I'll talk through some of these patterns as I'm catching some fish, and then I'll transition into that nighttime bite and kind of show you what these fish will do differently once it transitions to dark. So I've already got a bunch of holes drilled out here. I've identified the basin. I know that there's some fish moving in the area, so we're going to move around, try to locate some fish and see if we can catch some nice big crappies. I'm going to start with this spoon here. It's the Slim Spoon by Norfin. They were out a little further, so I actually just went and drilled some holes on the other side of them to kind of spook them closer to me. They're coming up. I've got a pretty big spoon on, so might not be until some of those bigger, more aggressive ones are interested. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh. Storming up, but there we go. Finally got one to kind of storm up and do it right. Not anything too crazy big, but we have our first crappie, and there's still a pretty big school down there. I'm gonna get this eye off. You can see these big schools. Essentially what they're doing is just roaming around the basin. They just roam. So during the day, you just gotta chase them. Still some around here. Shoot. This one actually is feeling okay, but did not look as big as that little bit one that was a little bit deeper. Still a decent fish. Show them off. Another solid crappie. Again, we're not gonna keep any of these fish out of the water very long because it's pretty cold. Hell, they're coming back actually. Maybe I'll switch up baits here. I want that bigger one down deeper. Look at them all chase. Man, when you can get on a school like this, I am so surprised they're kind of sticking around. Yeah. Come on. Come on. A lot of these look pretty small. Nice thing is a taller group like this, more suspended. I mean, we're only in 27 feet here, but really not gonna have any risk of barrel trauma when they're down only 15 feet. decent fish, but so far not. Ooh, that guy's dogging me a little bit more. A little bit better fish. Oh, another one. Man, lots of fish hanging out. And I might actually switch up baits here. I'm gonna switch to, I think this is the broom bug. Crappies seem to really like these plastics like this. Man, that is just a big school. Oh, it's so fun when you can kind of land on them like this. Another one coming up. That did not take long. Still an okay fish. None of these are giants, but none of them are tiny either. These are probably, I don't know, 11, 12-inch fish. Again, you can see, I'll just show you there, I switched up to that little jig and plastic. That's the broom bug by Norfin. They're actually a lot closer to that hole. So I'm going to go over there. They should be pretty close to stacked underneath here. Oh yeah. Basically from 26 feet all the way to 15. Hopefully you can still see this on the live scope even. Come on. This transducer's reading all these fish as bottom, so it keeps my flashers going all over the place. This one feels maybe a touch bigger. Tough to say. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that is huge. Look at that thing. Just tall. I don't know, my guess is 13, maybe 14. I don't want to take time bumping it right now. Get that one right back. Oh, sweet. Kind of fun. You can see there he is working his way back down. So as you can see, pretty effective way using the live scope, using the flasher. Sometimes they stay right underneath with the live scope. And once you do this for a little while, you're gonna get a pretty good idea of kind of the general area that these fish are concentrating in. And that's gonna give you an idea where to set up for the night. So we got a little bit here. I'm just gonna go catch a few more fish, and then I'll kind of show you how we transition into that nighttime bite. Like that guy. Not a lot of like super small ones here today, which is nice. Immediately yet again. Another one. Oh, I should really set up shop here because it's getting to be that time. You can see as it gets closer to dark, they get more and more aggressive. Like that guy. These things just get fired up. Okay, well, now I actually am gonna set up shop. So you can see this is kind of the epicenter here of where a lot of these fish are, and you can already see it. Do you see how they're kind of not as tall and they're just kind of spacing out? They're starting to gradually spread out. There's a few a little taller, but what I'm gonna do, probably anywhere in here would be a good spot to kind of set up shop. My fish house is just right over there. So I'm actually gonna go in and get stuff set up here and see if that's where we want. We actually have one down right away. As you can see, I am set up inside the house. It took a little longer than I expected. Kind of a roamer here. We'll see if he engages. He's interested. Interested. There he bit. There we go. Oh my gosh. That felt like a good fish too. No, I don't think he's gonna give me another chance, but we'll see. Well, he kind of is. Come on, buddy. Just gonna let it sit here. Sometimes as it gets closer to dark like this, they just want that dead stick. There he bit. There we go. This guy is bigger. I should tighten my drag just a touch, but they also have such soft lips. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a solid fish. Oh my gosh, it's a stud. Oh, let me wipe off the camera. Got the camera wiped off here. What a unit. Oh, I've got the bump board here. Let's check that out. Mouth closed. Just a hair over 14, maybe 14 and a quarter. If the mouth was open, you can see how big of a difference that makes. Now that's 14 and a half. So that's an important distinction when measuring fish. Mouth open or mouth closed, you can see added a ½ inch. Sweet. Well, I haven't even got a chance to say what's going on because I just got set up. But I'm gonna get regrouped here and I'll kind of tell you what's going on. While I'm up here, I'll kind of show you. I upsized to a, I think this is maybe an 1/8 ounce crappie king jig. a little bit bigger minnow, so I want a little bit bigger hook to make sure that's showing up. But when I'm targeting these bigger fish too, I'm okay kind of not having some of those smaller one bite. One of these has got to go. I want that little bit bigger one. Yep, he bit. There we go. They like that crappie minnow, especially those bigger fish. Not a giant, actually. Not like that first one we caught. There we go. You can see it on that crappie king jig. Got another one cruising through. See if I can get down quickly. Again, typically I want to have 2 holes. Got to be kind of crazy. So I didn't end up, you know, there's fish around, so I didn't want to spook the fish for the evening because they'll kind of hang around the same area where you see them at last light. They'll spread out, but they'll still hang around. So I'm fishing out of one hole, fishing out of the same hole as my live scope deucer, which again is not ideal. But you can see how much more these fish spread out. They get a little closer to the bottom as some of those bugs come up, and they just kind of roam. Almost seems some days like they just roam with their mouth open as those bugs are coming up off bottom, and they just eat. So I do like to use, sometimes I'll use like a bug style plastic because that's what they're eating. But I do find, like I've said a couple times, using those minnows will just kind of differentiate. If they have bugs everywhere, seeing a nice juicy minnow, I can imagine, helps to draw them in a little bit more. And again, it typically brings in some of those bigger fish. Looks bigger, not quite as big as that first one, but there we go. Looked bigger than that last 1 or 2 that we've caught. This nighttime bite can be so fun because you can set up, better fish, not anywhere close to that first one that we caught. You can see that big gash on that guy. Big old pike probably munched him. I will say, obviously any basin crappie bite, there is risk for killing fish, whether it's barotrauma, whatever. This one I'm pretty safe. You can see it tops out in like 27 feet. And a lot of these fish are probably anywhere from 20 to 25. So just be mindful if you're fishing, say 40 feet of water and those fish are 35 feet down, you know, there's a chance that some of those fish are gonna die. So just be mindful of that. Keep an eye on signs of barotrauma. If you have a live scope, see how they're swimming down. That doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be delayed mortality. But again, always got to be thinking about protecting the resource. What's that?
Are you done? You're still out there?
Still fishing. Come on. Come on. There you upbit. Just talking to my dad on the phone. Everybody say hi, Dad. You get to be in this. You get to be in this video, Dad. Not a big one. We got another one. Well, there you go, Dad. I know you haven't been on a video for a while, but hopefully soon.
Ugh. Somebody said I've never looked so good like this.
That's right. You got a face for phone calls.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yep, we'll talk to you later. Love you. So I want to take a second to actually show you what I'm talking about. I've been talking about these fish, you know, going from their schools to spread out. Been talking about these bugs coming up. So I'm just going to bump up that gain a little bit. I'm going to go into forward mode here, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. As you can see, compared to earlier in the day, this is a much more murky screen. But as I kind of pan around, you're going to see all those bugs, and then you're going to see like one fish here, one fish there. They're going to be the thicker red marks. There's a few right there. You can see them. They're much more spread out. A few on that side. There's a pretty good one way out at 70 feet. Some pretty close to right underneath. I mean, you're just seeing all those bugs and you're seeing all those little thicker red marks. So that's what I'm talking about, how those schools, they're so tight during the day and they really branch out and they just kind of spread out and cover a lot of this water column. And like I said, it makes for a pretty fun bite because yes, you can tell a lot of it because of the live scope, but you don't necessarily need live scope to catch these fish. You could do it with a flash, you could do it with a bobber, honestly, if you're getting the right depth set. Some really easy ways to go and target some of these after dark crappies. You go out after work, maybe you don't have live scope. In a lot of my videos, some of them are very specific, like you need live scope to do what we're doing. But sometimes just the live scope is going to give you a little bit clearer picture of what's going on down there. So you don't even need to buy it, but just me using it and showing you is going to give you a little clearer picture of kind of exactly what's going on down there. So another thing that I want to say is, one, when you go to down mode, but also as it gets to be night and that screen gets so much more cluttered, turn your gain down. You can see this is pretty close to where I had it earlier today. When I turn my gain down, yes, I'm losing a little bit on those fish, but with how much larger they show up than some of those other bugs and those kinds of things, especially if you have kids, they're trying to learn how to read some of this live scope stuff. bump down that gain, you're gonna have a much clearer picture, a lot of less clutter and background noise. If you're interested in checking out some more of my basin strategies where I get to do a big time deep dive into locations and strategies for targeting basin crappies, I'll put that video right here. Otherwise, you can subscribe right here. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.